Wednesday, January 20th, 2021 meeting. Pam Weil.
Here from East Lansing, Michigan.
Chuck Overby.
Here from the fine city of East Lansing.
Alex Smith.
Here from East Lansing.
Adam DeLay.
Here from East Lansing.
You're muted, Pam.
Pam.
All right, small group, but there we go. Approval of the agenda. Do I hear a second to first?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
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 Of those opposed? Hearing none. Agenda is moved. Approval of November's minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Modifications?
Pam.
Yeah.
That was December's minutes, not November's.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, am I in the wrong agenda? Oh, I'm in the wrong agenda, that's why. All right, let me get in the right agenda. All right, public comments? Oh, sorry, all those in favor of moving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, those are moved. All right, do we have any public comment?
There is nobody in the queue for public comment at this time.
Now I'm in the right agenda. All right, election of officers.
So we have, and Jane can correct me if I'm wrong, we have two officers. We have the, do we call it the chair or the president, Jane?
Chair.
We have chair and vice chair.
Chair and vice chair, so we have two. And that is typically, like on an annual basis, and then you selected a chair and a vice chair each year in January. So typically the chair will open up for nominations for the chair first and then for the vice chair second.
All right. As current chair, I open up nominations for chair. Hearing none, I'll nominate myself.
Do it.
Then we would need a second.
I'll second that.
Any other candidates for chair? Does that mean I'm chair?
You get to vote.
All those in favor of me for chair? That seems inappropriate, but there it is.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none? Sounds like I'm chair again. Nominations for vice chair? I'd like to nominate Chuck.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Adam.
Actually by Alex.
Two A names, 4 letters, yeah.
Oh, that's true. They both start with A.
I apologize.
All those in favor of Chuck serving as vice chair again this year, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? It's Chuck again. Good. All right, I got the right agenda. All right, and right into Chuck for the resolution of naming public properties.
Chuck, would you like me to take that?
Please, yeah, I'd be glad to jump in, but yes, I was going to ask you to please step in.
Okay, so we had this in front of the commission last month, and Commissioner DeLay made some suggestions for some revisions. I believe those have been made. I did check with both Commissioner Overby and Commissioner DeLay, and I think they've been taken care of. So there's a memo and the proposed revisions to the resolution that the commission would be making. So you'll need to vote on this, but before Commissioner Weil calls for a vote, I would like to suggest that what happens next is after we get the recommendation from the commission, then this will get forwarded to the mayor and city council, and then the mayor and city council will choose to take this up if they'd like to. So I imagine they will certainly do that. They typically always take up recommendations from their commissions. And then at that point in time, they may make additional revisions. They may ask for a city attorney review. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of background with respect to that. So with that, I'll turn it back to Chair Commissioner Weil.
And Pam, could I just have a couple of comments?
Sure.
The real purpose of our suggestions on revisions for this process were based on the fact that it felt like the existing process could just be rammed through without adequate consultation with the neighborhoods, and not only consultation, but consideration of the neighborhood's views on a particular proposal. And the proposed revisions and do address that, and Tim has been very helpful in drafting this and moving it forward. So in representing the neighborhood and representing the committee members that were appointed by the city council to look at this issue, we're very pleased with this and believe it does address the basic concerns.
Great. And I think this body was really eager to capture all that work, Chuck, that your subcommittee did around a specific, because your recommendations were fabulous in a general sense, and to capture them and not just let them disappear into the ether and have some other neighborhood go through the exact same thing. So I think this is really great. And you guys did a lot of work, and let's save it and not lose it. So. Yeah. And beyond just the neighborhood, I think that is critical, but just the general, to take it seriously, to reflect on it in context, to get input, all that stuff, I think it's important. Good. Yeah. I'm pleased that this happened. Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving that forward, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move it forward. All right.
Pam,
yeah.
can I ask a question on this topic? The motion that was in the packet, that's sort of the motion that's acceptable to move on to city, or to pass on to city council, correct?
Right. That's, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's the unanimous support of this committee.
Right, thank you.
So Tim just has a procedural question. So the city council will review this, and then they'll either revise it or accept it as is, and then it becomes city policy.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they will handle this. They may put it on a discussion only meeting and have a conversation about it, or they may just go ahead and put it on a consent agenda and approve it without any conversation.
Right.
Or they may put it on a regular meeting as a business item and have a conversation about it. So,
If there's discussion, please, I'll try to keep aware of it, but I'd be honored to join that discussion and try to advance it in any way I could.
right, I will keep the entire commission aware of whatever city council chooses to do.
Thank you.
Great. All right, projects.
Okay, so Chuck and Pam will know this because we've done this a number of times. Commissioner DeLay and Commissioner Smith, this may be your first time sitting through a pretty comprehensive review and update for the commissioners on our capital projects program. Wendy Longpree is going to do that. We've got a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm sure Justin will put that up here in just a minute. It's interesting to see that we probably have going right now perhaps the most robust capital projects set of activities that we've had in an awful long time. It's been building for 2 or 3 or 4 years, but we just have a very robust set of capital projects, due largely, obviously, to the Ada County Trails and Parks millage, which voters in the county have passed and overwhelmingly passed in East Lansing. I have to.
Can I say something quick?
Sure.
One of the issues, and this is what, because I've been getting where'd all this money come from? One of the issues was that we re-upped the millage for the county, but the county didn't spend any of their money for like the first 2.5, almost 3 years. And then they spent in a big pile, right? So that's, I mean, kind of explain that to that there was a front-loaded, back-loaded expenditures of the initial river trail money from the county. So.
Right. So yeah, the county trails, when the initiative passed the first time, which that was what, 8-9 years ago now, it took about 2.5 to 3 years, almost 4 years, to organize how they were going to spend the money, or do a comprehensive plan and for trails in the county, and determine exactly how each municipality would qualify for funds, determine how each township would qualify for funds, what portion of the funds were going to go directly to the county. So that's the biggest component. And now obviously we are starting to benefit, if you will, from revenues through the city's income tax program. And at this time, we're not going to talk so much about money tonight, because we get the opportunity to talk about money the next 2 or 3 evenings. But I've asked Wendy to put together just a pretty comprehensive look at our capital projects program, from existing projects, projects recently completed, existing projects, and then projects that we're going to be working on over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. The one last thing I do want to say is, oftentimes when we get a capital project and we're bundling fund sources from 2 or 3 different areas, we'll have a project that'll start, and it could take as long as 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years to finish by the time we get started on it. And you'll become aware of that as you see some of these projects develop over the course of your tenure, Commissioner DeLay and Commissioner Smith. But I'll turn it over to Wendy now.
Okay, thank you, Tim. This is a quite lengthy slideshow, so I'm going to try and, fly through some of the screens, and then I'll, be sure to take any questions as you have them. So we'll get started. This is a Parks and Rec project update. What we're first going to talk about, okay. How do I advance?
You should be able to just click, Wendy. If you click on the screen, it should go to the next slide.
Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all is the White Park nature area improvements and an extension of the Northern Tier Trail through White Park. There are 2 sections to this project. One is an extension of the Northern Tier Trail from the end of the trail on Tower Avenue south to the property line between the city and Meridian Township. And then the other portion of the project is shown on the right-hand side, and that is an extension of the Northern Tier Trail through the park, as well as improvements to a vernal pool that's found in the park, and improvements, natural area improvements related to the pond. The vast majority of this project has been completed, and so those are the photographs that you're going to see here coming up. First of all, this is the length of trail along Tower Avenue. The photo on the left shows, or the graphic on the right shows you where the photograph was taken from, the view, and then the photograph is on the left. This is a trail section along the north side of the softball field that's in White Park. And then you can see on the graphic where the star is, that's approximately where this photo was taken. This is the trail as it loops around right at the intersection of Lake Lansing Road and Tower Avenue. Later on in this presentation, we'll talk some about this intersection and some plans for the near future associated with that as well. A portion of the trail in White Park is what's called Turnpike Trail, and that is basically a crusher fine trail that has is held in place by wood edging. That's what this trail looks like, and now that it's been established for a while and there's some vegetation on the ground and leaves and whatnot, it's really a beautiful length of trail. It's very natural and fits right into the natural areas of the park quite well. This particular section of trail is just on the south side of the Vernal Pool. Another part of what we did with this project is we cleared out some of the sediment from the pond, stabilized the bank, planted some vegetation along the south side of the pond to hopefully keep erosion down, and then installed a trail from the bridge that is on the east side of the pond all the way north to the parking lot on Lake Lansing Road. So that's these two photographs. And then this is a boardwalk and overlook platform that was constructed right at the Vernal Pool. The Vernal Pool is a really unique natural feature in the park. They are not found very frequently in natural areas in Michigan. And so we really wanted to highlight it. And this is a beautiful short length of boardwalk, which does just that and gives you the opportunity to just kind of stand and observe. The photo on the right-hand side is a really good shot of the Vernal Pool.
Wendy, what is a vernal pool?
Pardon?
What is a vernal pool?
It's almost like a specialty wetland. It is an area that floods in the springtime and will stay fairly moist throughout the summer. And it is sort of the breeding ground and the life source for frogs, amphibians, fairy shrimp, salamanders, just a lot of really wonderful natural or wonderful animals that sort of start the food chain in any natural environment. So it's important to keep the natural environment healthy. So that's sort of what the Vernal Pool does. The last components of this project, which are quite small, but we have to complete them in order to secure the rest of our grant funds, is installation of an interpretive sign, which actually tells you about the Vernal Pool, and then installation of a bench right on the overlook platform at the Vernal Pool. What's neat about this particular sign is it was done by one of our local high school students as a Girl Scout, and this is for her gold project, which is similar to not necessarily an Eagle Scout project, but working through their award system. And so this is her sign, and it's in fabrication currently. So we hope to have that installed and in place within probably the next month or so. Another project that we have completed, and so again, I'm going to flip through these fairly quickly. What you're going to see is photos of the completed project, is Bailey Park improvements. One of the things we did with Bailey Park that's really neat is this is our first park where we really applied the concept of parks without borders, which basically means we removed fencing from around the outside edge of the park, and it allows the park to sort of flow out into the community and integrate in with the, well, the community, I guess is the best way to say that. So this is one entrance into the park. This is the southeast entrance right off of Collingwood. You can see a little bit on the left-hand side, there's a small playground for 2 to 5-year-olds. And then there is a pathway that heads off to the left and connects the parking lot for the Bailey Child Care Program. This is a neat shot because you can see they're a little bit in the shade, but you see a couple of women with strollers on one side. You can also see all the way to the right behind the tree trunk is a gentleman walking with a walker. So he's a person who lives in the Bailey apartments. And then you also see all the children playing out there from the child care program. And so this just is a classic photo of what we had hoped would happen in the park, and it really has come to be. This is a picture of the northeast entrance to the park with the Bailey Welcome Arch, and then the pathway along the north edge of the park and one of the benches. This is the northwest entrance and the southwest entrance into the park. On the lower photograph on the right-hand side, you can see the large play structure and then some of the other features, which we'll see in the next few photos. This is the large play structure. What happened, that's for 5 to 12-year-olds that received new surface material and edging. There's a poured in place accessible route to a new accessible swing. And then you see one of the 4 benches there. This photo, the larger photo, I actually took that from the top of the 5 to 12-year-old play structure. And so you can see the play structure for the younger children on the far right-hand side. There's a shade structure in the park, a water fountain. You can see the bike loops and the trash and recycling containers, some of the picnic tables that are in the park with some decorative concrete. And then on the lower left, you see the play structure for 2 to 5-year-olds, a little bit closer view. And this is the drinking fountain in the park and one of 4 benches. This drinking fountain is sort of like a Cadillac drinking fountain. It has fountains at 2 levels. It's got a dog watering dish and a bottle filling station. So pretty much everything that you might need in a drinking fountain is there. This here has to also, another component of this project is there's 2 native landscape gardens with interpretive signage. This is the type of interpretive sign that we'll be putting in White Park as well. Now we're getting into the projects that we have coming up here this summer. The first thing we have is we're looking at installation of 2 bridges. They're pedestrian connections to the Northern Tier Trail. They will connect the Tamarisk neighborhood and the Bessemer neighborhood to the trail system. You can see their locations there. The Tamarisk neighborhood pedestrian access is located on Riveria Drive. There is a right-of-way from a road stub that had been abandoned a number of years ago. So this area, or this section in between 2 lots, is still in, there is a public easement, and so we're going to be installing the access through this point. This is an illustration of what that access could potentially look like, a pathway back to the bridge with some landscaping, some wayfinding signage, and a basic connection to the existing Northern Tier Trail, which is on the other side of the drain.
I'd say we had, oh, good, that's what I want, is that we had some concerns from neighbors, and I wanted to, the new people on the commission, that the city of East Lansing spent money to really make this so much more attractive in this phase, because it was just a stump of a road, the road like a turnoff, like a driveway to nothing. So anyway,
Right.
That's.
And then this is where the second bridge will go. It's located at the end of Colorado Drive. Just past that little orange triangle there is actually one of the drains. And so you go up over that little mound and then drop down into the drain. And so that's why there isn't any ability right now to access the trail, which is just on the other side of this hill or small mound.
I think that's another clear improvement to a neighborhood.
right?
Yes, and I think this will be a wonderful addition to the neighborhood. And we're looking at similar things here. The previous bridge, we're looking at probably a clear span prefabricated bridge, which is similar to the ones that we have along the Northern Tier Trail now. In this location, we're looking at probably something called a box culvert, which is more similar to the bridge right now on the Northern Tier Trail that goes to the soccer complex. So it's just a very large culvert that you put the trail over the top of. And it's a good deal less costly than the clear span bridge. The schedule we're looking at for this has us taking an engineering services contract to City Council with a recommendation next month. Design and construction in the springtime with bidding in the late spring. And then we are looking at, our goal at this point in time is to do construction of the bridges in July through October. So over the course of the summer. Another project we have coming up is Northern Tier Trail repairs. We, a number of years ago, did an extensive repair project for the Northern Tier Trail. The primary approach that we used was to repair any cracks that were in the trail and then to cover the entire trail with something called a micro lift of asphalt, which is a layer of asphalt that's anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch thick. What happened shortly after that was all completed is we did start to see some cracking migrating through that layer of that micro lift of asphalt. That was not unexpected. It's something that does occur. But there were some areas that were kind of a surprise to us. Though they are explainable. On the left-hand side, you can see there's a crack that kind of runs basically along the whole edge of the trail. We believe what happened there is the new layer of asphalt was a bit wider than the layer of asphalt underneath. And so you're seeing the crack between where the outside edge of the old asphalt was. So then there's also some cracks kind of mitigating through or migrating through just from underlying cracks in the surface. So what we're looking at needing to do there is go over the whole trail with a repair process. And we're working with an engineer to help us define exactly what that's going to look like. The second thing we ran into on one section of trail is the section that runs basically from the soccer complex bridge to the Abbey Road Bridge. Between the time that the improvements were designed and the project was constructed, the Drain Commissioner's Office did a drain cleanout project. And then we also, which moved the edge of the bank back kind of closer to the edge of the trail. And then when we changed the way that the trail sloped, it wound up creating this lip along the edge of the trail, which basically in some areas has you kind of dropping off 6 or 8 inches. So we really needed to come up with some way to combat this as well to ensure that the trail was safe for users as well as secure and didn't fail in the future. So what we're looking to do is relocate about 150 linear foot of trail. We've looked at 2 options. One is to just shift the entire trail about 5 feet to the east and reconstruct it in a way that provides for a wider shoulder and gets it further away from the bank. The other option we're looking at is to take at least probably about half of the trail and remove it completely. Then what we would do is we would pave an existing trail that is currently in Abbott Park and right now is quite wide. It's in the range of 12 to 15 foot wide currently, and it has a real solid base underneath it because it's been used by our maintenance vehicles. So what we're currently looking at doing now is shifting the southern half of this trail to the east to allow, like I said, for a shoulder and to give it a safe distance away from the drain. But then the remainder of the trail, we would instead pursue the option of moving the trail completely away from the drain. We think that the Drain Commissioner would be very excited to hear that we're kind of shifting about 800 foot of trail outside of the drain easement. And from the standpoint of long-term maintenance, we really feel like this might, is probably going to be the better solution. So at this point in time, we are in the design phase for this project. We're hoping to bid it out sometime around May or June, depending on how permitting goes through the Department of, through Michigan Eagle, MDEGEL, or whatever their acronym is now. And then constructing in July through October. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Wendy, just a comment, as someone who uses the Northern Tier Trail on my bike with great regularity, I also, with some regularity, get forced off of the trail by various circumstances. And I really welcome this addition. I don't like that section of the trail and always feel on guard when I go through there because it doesn't feel safe. And so I welcome these changes and really appreciate them. So thank you.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you, Chuck. Another project that we have moving forward right now is reconstructing the intersection at Lake Lansing Road and Tower Avenue. Basically, we talked earlier about the White Park project, how there were two sections of trail extension, one north, which is from the end of the Northern Tier Trail along Tower Avenue, and another that extends the Northern Tier Trail through White Park. Both of those trail extensions right now dead end where they're at, one at Lake Lansing Road and one at the boundary between East Lansing and Meridian Township. Meridian Township has secured money from the Ingham County Trails and Parks millage to extend a trail from the end of our trail all along Tower Avenue down to Lake Lansing Road. So once that is completed, the only thing remaining that needs to be worked on in order to create a trail loop as well as to provide access to all of the Meridian Township pathways, their pathway and trail system, is improvements to the intersection at Lake Lansing and Tower Ave. Now, our original grant request did have money in the project to make this improvement. The problem we ran into is that when we actually sat down with the road department and with some engineering staff and looked at this intersection, the existing signal was not able to be upgraded to do the kind of safety improvements that we were looking for. To ensure that pedestrians could cross safely. The other thing is Ingham County had some staff changes between the time we applied for the grant and the time we actually looked at implementation. And they raised some serious concerns with what we had proposed in our grant for improving pedestrian safety. So as we started working with Ingham County and our engineer, as well as representatives from the Parks Department, we identified a solution to address everybody's concerns, and that was to reconstruct the Lake Lansing Road intersection completely. So what we're looking at doing is removing the eastbound slip lane, which is currently on Lake Lansing Road, installing a completely new traffic signalization setup, installing pedestrian activated audible crossing signals, accessible ramps, curb cuts, and detectable plates, and then pavement markings and signage. This is, we are just really excited about being able to do this project. When you think about connectivity, moving people through the City of East Lansing trail system, as well as Meridian Township trail system, making the connection from the Tower Avenue down to the White Hills Elementary School. No, it's White Hills there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really going to be a wonderful improvement.
Yeah, it's so much safety, right, Wendy? I mean, that was not a pedestrian-friendly intersection.
Yeah, I'm not a,
previously.
Yeah, I'm not a civil engineer by any means, but whenever I've driven through there, I've always sort of wondered what's going on, what's with the turn there to go. So
Yeah. It never
yeah,
stops, and what if
yeah,
someone's coming through the green light? Yeah.
just a simple, so in addition to, I think, just being a better intersection, you get all of the benefits of the connectivity. It sounds like an awesome project.
Yeah, yay.
We are very excited about it, and the Ingham County Trails and Parks Millage will be funding this completely. And so we are just really looking forward to getting this moving. The engineering services contract was actually approved last night at City Council. We are looking at design and construction development here over the next couple of months, with bidding and contract award in April and May, and we're looking to construct over the summer. We want to avoid the school year for both the East Lansing School District as well as MSU. And so that is our goal with this particular project.
When did you have an estimate of cost? I know that the contractors will bid, but what do you think?
We are estimating right now $400,000. 350, probably 350,000 once you take the engineering out of it. So yeah, it's going to be it's a pretty expensive project to do it right. Another project we have going on right now is the Patriarch Park Pavilion and Restroom renovation. Here you see an overview of Patriarch Park. You can see where the pavilion is located, as well as the north restroom and south restroom. What we're looking at is a complete renovation of both restrooms. This is the north restroom. The existing floor plan is shown on the right, the proposed floor plan on the left. The restrooms are basically going to be completely gutted and redone. New fixtures, new walls, lighting, a different layout, etc. This is what the exterior of the restroom looks like. We're also looking at exterior improvements to any wood siding and fascia will be replaced, cleaning the masonry, removing the existing drinking fountain and replacing it with a dual level fountain. We're looking at removing and replacing concrete, as well as replacing the roof, and then removing and replacing louvers. On the south restroom, because of the size of the restroom, we'll be going from a restroom that has a men's side and a women's side to a restroom that has 4 unisex facilities in it. So they will be single use, 4 single use facilities, but unisex and accessible. And then the exterior gets a similar treatment to the other restroom with new standing seam roof, work on the concrete walkways around the building, replacing some doors and frames. One of the really exciting things about this particular restroom is we are looking at installation of a solar grid, which will be large enough to provide for all of the electrical needs for this structure. And this is our first solar grid that we'll have in any of our parks, and our first that will be used to give power to the facilities. So we're excited about seeing how this works for us. And we're also looking at renovating the pavilion, and that'll get some of the same sort of treatments, replacing the roof, removing wood fascia and replacing it, cleaning and patching any of the masonry, all new lighting fixtures. The interior of the pavilion has a small little countertop with a sink that'll be all completely removed and replaced. And so this will get a complete facelift. What we're adding here is a rain catchment system as well. So all of the rain that falls on the roof of this structure will be collected in rain barrels and reused on the site. Some of the site improvements are on the south restroom. You can see it's really just basically creating a walkway to the restroom so that people can get to it. On the north restroom and the pavilion, we're removing a bunch of sort of miscellaneous concrete and asphalt patching and pavement around the pavilion and the restroom, and completely restructuring the traffic pattern as well as usage areas. We are excited about this because we'll have this new pavilion with the shade structure, and well, not new pavilion. The pavilion will be renovated, and so it will be much more attractive and user-friendly. But then we also have these extended sections of concrete on either side that we really see as being able to be used for outdoor activity spaces, not just by those who might renovate or might reserve the pavilion, but also potentially by our department for various programming opportunities, etc. And then, of course, with all of the new sort of pathway connections to the ball diamond, as well as up to the playground that's right there, this is really going to completely change the look of the entryway into this park. We are looking at, actually, again, just last night, City Council approved the construction contract award. We are going to be working with Nielsen Construction to do this work. And we're anticipating that the construction will actually start over the course of this winter because there's things that they can do at this time of the year. And we're hoping to have it done and able to be open by the 4th of July. Another activity another project we have going on in Patriarch Park is what I'm referring to as athletic court reconstruction. In this southern part of Patriarch Park, there are tennis courts, pickleball courts, and a couple of basketball courts. We are looking at reconstruction of these amenities as well. This is a panorama of the tennis courts and pickleball courts, and you can see the water tower in the background. This is current overview of the court surfaces. A number of years ago, probably about 5 years ago, we did do some pretty extensive repairs on the surfaces, but we knew that those would only last a few years, and then we would see some of these cracks mitigating through because the age of these court surfaces is such that they really need to be completely redone. The fencing around the tennis courts and pickleball courts was not replaced, or nothing was done with it 5 years ago. And so you can see from the condition of the fencing, it is really in very poor condition. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't change my title on this. This is actually, I'm going to show you some photos of the condition of the basketball court at this point in time. You can see the sidewalk that goes to the basketball courts, as well as the surface, which is cracked and uneven. The basketball hoops and backboards are cracked and rusted. The footings are heaving, and it just is basically, it's pretty unusable right now. Then there is also a tennis practice wall at one end of the paved surface. So we applied for a Natural Resources Trust Fund grant to help us fund the renovation of the pickleball and tennis courts. And then we applied for a Recreation Passport grant to help fund the renovation of the basketball courts. We were successful in receiving the grant for the pickleball courts, but the basketball courts, we are not successful in receiving that grant. However, we have been talking some about whether there might be another way to get the basketball courts constructed in some kind of a timely fashion as well. So what we're looking at, what we have the funding for currently, is renovating the pickleball and tennis courts into 10 pickleball courts and 1 tennis court. We would be looking at also installation of a shade structure, a storage shed, some picnic tables, some bike loops, and then a walkway all the way out to Alton Street so that there is easy access to the bus system and the bus stops that you can pick up on Alton Street. So that will improve accessibility to this as well. As we look at our capital funds for the next few years and we start looking at how we might be able to put together about the reconstruction project for the basketball court, what we're looking at doing is reconstructing the entire court surface so that we have 2 usable basketball courts. We'd be looking at installation of bike loops, a new paved access pathway, picnic tables, and some landscaping. Our schedule for the tennis and pickleball courts has us looking at design and bidding over this next winter. So October 21st through basically April 2022. And I meant to say October 2021. So we would be looking at construction of this next spring and summer. We are also going to be looking at doing some aquatic center improvements this summer. One is we'll be removing the pools and falls, which is a play structure that is no longer able to be repaired and kept in usable condition. And then we'll be replacing the pool liner. You can see the pool liner is definitely kind of at the end of its life. We'll also be looking at doing some repairs to the gutters and completing miscellaneous concrete repairs. Here's some examples of some of the things that we'll be addressing. And these are pictures from the Aquatic Center. We'll be looking at refurbishing the water slides and repainting the slide towers. These are some photos of the different components of the water slide. And then we're also looking at removing the sand play area to create additional turf and picnic space. One of the things we continually struggle with is that sand gets carried into the pool and is really a challenge to keep out of the water and the filtration system. It's a continual ongoing maintenance challenge. The other thing is we are continually have people looking for additional lawn space where they can lay out blankets, have picnics, that sort of thing. So we think this is going to meet our needs better. That work we're looking at doing over the course of this summer. We already have some pricing and some information from various contractors, but we're not running this as one large project under one contractor. We're going to be pulling in a couple of different contractors to do different aspects of this. So we'll kind of be slowly picking away at this over the course of the next 6 to 10 months.
Wendy,
I'd like
to add some things to that if I could.
Oh, good, yeah.
The unfortunate situation is this requires the Aquatic Center to be closed again this summer, okay? But the timing, really, when you think about it, it couldn't be better, given the fact we're still in the final, hopefully in the final throes of the pandemic. And so we don't believe that even if we were operating, that we were going to be able to operate the Aquatic Center the way we would historically operate it with, you know, maybe 800 persons a day, or as many as some days even 1,000 or 1,200 persons a day at the Aquatic Center. So the timing kind of works out right to just say, okay, let's get this done. Let's take the entire summer to get it done, and let's make it look like a, as you can see visually through the various slides, that there's certainly neglect after 20 years, and it's time to really step it up, and by the time we get to 2022, make it look really good before we reopen it.
And I want to say I'm really glad to see us making a commitment to this facility. Pools are under serious pressure all over, and the university got rid of swimming. One of the reasons is they're saying is the outdoor pool maintenance is untenable. But we're getting warmer, and I think we're going to see that this is a real asset in the hot summers we'll be seeing in the future. So, yeah.
This facility has maintained its popularity in terms of use. There's no question about it. It has maintained its popularity. I'm afraid that well, first of all, if we don't replace the liner and take care of these gutter situations, we're not going to be able to open it anyway. So this is, when it's all said and done, we'll be talking more about the budget in the next couple of months. But this is going to be close to a $500,000 project that we're talking about here. So, and where are the funds coming from? We're probably going to be using income tax revenues over the course of like 2 years. This is not a project where we'll be able to go out and get grant funds. So,
Right, but we do want to be clear that, what did we spend to build it initially, Tim? Do you remember off the top of your head?
yeah, this was a, let's call it, we had a $3 million bond issue, okay? Let's call it $3.5 million for the original construction.
And that was, yeah, a long time ago.
But this year would have been the 20th year of operation. I think it was 2001, the summer of 2001 that we opened it.
How much do you think it would be to build now?
This facility, of course, we would do it a lot differently. But I think you're talking
15?
6-7 million minimum.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I'd say 12 to 15, but
You may be actually correct, because by the time we actually really sat down and looked at the scope of the project and how we actually wanted to do it, you
the
really
construction costs are astronomical these days.
Yeah, they're going crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, it's an asset. It's a huge asset, and I'm just glad to see us investing in it and the maintenance of it. So.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
The next project that we are also looking at this summer is we're looking at doing some improvements to the softball complex. Principally, we'll be looking at constructing shaded dugouts on all of the fields, doing some assorted concrete repairs, as well as installing some additional concrete areas for spectators. And then we're looking at reconstructing the concrete, baseball field, I use that in quotations, around the Batter Boy statue that's at the entryway to the fields. Now, a large portion of the funds for this work is coming from donations from the East Lansing Baseball Club. We will be looking at, covering some of the concrete costs through income tax funds as well, but a large portion of the rest of the project costs are from the baseball club. This will be done. We took bids on this project and awarded contracts in December, and then we're looking at implementation. I couldn't remember exactly, but I'm thinking it's late spring, early summer. We'll need to work around some of the schedule of the baseball.
Right. I'll add to that, Wendy. The contract has already been awarded, so we hope to get the work. I think we hope to get the work done before we start playing baseball out there in the spring.
And then that is all.
Wendy and Tim, I just have a comment. This is an ambitious list of projects, and it's really exciting to see. And I believe that they will add to the quality of life and the availability of recreational facilities in East Lansing that we all support. But I want to thank Tim, Wendy, for your hard work on this. This is really exciting.
Thank you. Like I said when we started this is perhaps the most robust set of capital projects that we've had. But and Pam and Chuck know that when they first came on, the whole conversation was if you don't get a Natural Resources Trust Fund grant, you don't get a project because we simply didn't have any money. We were allowed, we were able to do a number of projects and always have because of the Natural Resources Trust Fund, but that was our only fund source. So the one last thing I do want to say about that is the East Lansing voters completely support recreation and parks, and there's completely evidenced through this county trails and parks millage where if you would 85% of those of us that live in East Lansing that voted in March of 2020 for when the Ingham County Trails and Parks millage renewal was up, 85% of us voted for that county trails and parks millage renewal. So that's in an election kind of world, that's almost unbelievable when you get right down to it. So.
Yeah, I'd just add to echo Chuck a bit, as somebody who really likes Patriarch Park, loves spending time there, and, maybe I through rose-colored glasses, I think, oh, this is a really nice park, but the thought of all the improvements and some of the pictures you showed, just makes me very excited to think of how much better it'll be in the future.
Well, I said I wasn't going to add anything, but I do. We're going to try to get as creative as we possibly can to get those basketball courts done the same time we're doing the pickleball courts and the tennis courts. I think there's benefits in trying to get all of that done at the same time. And when we come in and start talking about the capital projects budget, looking towards next fiscal year, and you automatically are talking really a couple of years out, I think, are going to have a plan where we can get both of those done at the same time. You were muted, Pam. You were muted.
Sorry, I'm just muttering about, yes, I think that would, it's something for everybody instead of being so pickleball heavy. That's
right. I mean, one of the things that we found out here is, you can't play basketball indoors right now still, right? But it's cold outside, and there are still people playing basketball, and everywhere you turn around, if there's an outdoor basketball court, you've got young kids playing, you've got adults playing, and there is a lot of individuals playing basketball. And so we don't have statistical information with respect to that, but if you drive around town, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
well, and if I'm not wrong, so I know for Marble, which I live right near, I'm pretty sure we lost the basketball courts in the school design. And so there was always people there. I'm just concerned, well, not concerned, but with the rebuilding of the schools, I'm not sure they're going to have that sort of basketball facilities, but.
Yeah, we certainly lost tennis courts. I don't remember the basketball courts or not. Hopefully, if they did have basketball courts there, the school district gave some consideration to putting basketball, but although I don't know.
Yeah, they're not really elementary. They were part of just the general rec, playground, baseball,
Okay.
you know what I mean? So, but yeah, so there were always people at the Marble courts.
You go to the right outside the community center in the northwest lot there, both of those courts are being used pretty extensively. You go over to Valley Court, since we put a new surface at Valley Court, about almost 10 years ago now, that's being used all the time. And to put a new surface at Patriarch Park, that would be used all the time.
All right. Everybody's favorite budget timeline.
So it showed you the fun part of these capital projects and getting them done and how much fun they are. So we'll talk about the not so fun side of that over the course of the next couple of months. So what we're planning to do is come to the commission and show you our fiscal year 2021 operating budget year and estimate next month. And then when we get into March, look at the Parks and Recreation operating budget fund for fiscal year 2022. And then as well as look at the fee schedule at the March meeting. Then at the April meeting, we would have the CIP presentation. We would also have at that meeting an opportunity to sort of revisit any questions or whatever the commissioners have that come up at the March meeting regarding the operating budget. So,
what's CIP stand for?
Pardon?
What's CIP stand for?
Capital Improvement Program, CIP project, okay. Capital projects. And then at the April meeting, what we would do is we would look at the advisory commission recommendation to city council in support of the Parks and Recreation Fund request, the capital project budget request, and the fiscal year 22 fee schedule. So that's kind of the commission's agenda, perhaps, if you will, for the next 3 months, is review and making your recommendation to city council, which has historically been supportive of the staff recommendation, and then occasionally commissioners make some additional recommendations around that. And then we did also provide the city council's budget review a schedule as for the adoption of the fiscal year 22 budget. But pretty much the next 3 meetings will be, the primary conversation will be budget. That's all I have on that.
Tim, I did this kind of work for 43 years for the state, and I'm looking forward to this part of our responsibility, and we'll be glad to hear the information and try to help out.
Great, thank you. You're on mute, Pam.
Sorry, any other comments on the upcoming budget timeline? All right, director's report.
So we weren't planning to go over the top trends in Parks and Recreation for 2021, but we did provide that article. And if you have the chance to go through the article, I think you'll find that some of the conversations and initiatives that we're looking at are sort of right on target with those trends that are identified in that piece that's provided by the National Recreation and Park Association. So the other thing that I had is we are continuing to operate the community center on a very not near as the way we have historically operated, largely because of the COVID, with all of our COVID protocols in place and what have you. And we're hoping as we move into February and March that we might be able to do a little bit more with respect to starting to incrementally do more in the theater. The gymnasiums are, through the MDHHS most recent executive order, are able to do like fitness classes and what have you there. We have not started that yet. We're going to wait until about the 6th of February before we start doing those types of things, but continuing to do them in a hopefully responsible basis, and again, incrementally reopening and hoping that more vaccines become available, hoping the metrics start to improve, and just trying to do the best we can in a safe and responsible manner with respect to reopening of our facilities.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's
All right, is that it for director's report?
It is. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Communication. Chuck, do you have something? Alex? I think he's shaking his head.
Yeah. Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Adam?
No, I'm all good. Thank you.
Okay, and I want to at least bring up, and I think it's going super smoother than I expected, but the closures of the parks around the deer call. So just, I think I'm not hearing anything negative feedback, and I just wanted to put it out there. Anybody concerned?
No,
Do a real quick update.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
So there was the opportunity, the city council says approved, the city manager is closing the parks to perform for the Fish and Wild, it'd be the United States Wildlife Group. I can't remember the name of the outfit, I apologize. But to come in and do a deer call. And They did one call one night last week, and they have a permit for 30 or for 50 deer. They took 32 deer in one night.
Wow.
And I think I had a conversation with Kathy DeChambeau this afternoon, and they think they're going to finish tonight. So they're going to do the whole thing, I think, in 2 nights.
Oh, that's orderly.
And then Kathy really is hoping that we'll be done after tonight.
Now, is the city getting calls and concerns? Is it?
You know, this conversation has been going on for 8 years, right? So there's residents on both sides of this issue. And every time we do community survey information, it's 50%, okay? 50% we want you to do it and 50% we don't want you to do it. So the number, the folks that you're gonna hear more from are the ones that don't want you to do it than the folks that want you to do it when you make the decision to go ahead and move forward. So we are hearing a little bit, but we are hearing from those that are saying, hey, this is making a difference. It's been as bad as we thought it might be, and it seems to be working at this time.
Yeah, I think the announcement was well handled, and it sounds like it's been really well handled, and I got a lot less feedback than I expected, so.
Kathy DeChambeau has been, like I said, has been working on this for 8 years, and she has really handled this, just couldn't have been done more professionally.
Excellently. And what is her role?
Kathy is the I don't know exactly what her title is.
Environmental Services Coordinator, I think.
Ah,
Or
okay.
Environmental Services Administrator.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the,
You know, campus does this work as well. Campus has animal control that work discreetly. Yeah.
they won't admit it.
Yeah, when I worked midnights, you'd meet them at QD at 4 in the morning every now and then. It's like they were like spies or something.
Tim, I don't know if you recall, I know the meat is being donated someplace, and I believe the processing of the deer is also being paid for by a volunteer organization. Am I right?
That's correct. The processing of the deer meat is being paid for by an organization, and then it's going back into our community because the meat is going to the Greater Lansing Food Bank.
Excellent. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know that the only concern that I had seen raised, just kind of seeing the correspondence that's come in either to council or otherwise, was over in Henry Fine Park. I know some folks who live in the proximity of Fine Park were, just had concerns given the size of the park, I think, and the use of firearms that close. But from what I've seen, it seems like, you've got sharpshooters essentially who know what they're doing. And I've seen kind of some of the responses from the city, but really that's sort of the only concern that I've seen is not necessarily the issue of taking the deer, but just the manner and the use of firearms that closely. But it seems like it's going to eventually only be a 2-night deal, hopefully.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I can tell the difference on the trail that there are fewer deer. There are still plenty of them that you encounter on the trail.
Yeah. There were a lot. I saw deer in my fence backyard. I guess one other thing, I'm seeing how fraught with typos it was, but I wanted to make sure that my email about the parks and libraries and inclusion gets added as an official. It's in the minutes that was sent. So
Sure.
you need something else from me, Jane.
In fact, I tried to, I had a hard time bringing that up today. I don't know.
Oh, the link wouldn't work for you?
Right. Well, I got the link, but it was,
You got the whole thing?
Is it about a 50-minute piece or something like that?
No, this was just the one part,
Yeah, it was
15 minutes
about
from the
13
show.
or something.
Yeah, it's a one segment of a show. But
Okay.
if you speed up to the 6.5 minutes, that's where they talk about the Memphis park that was really, it's
Okay.
almost, it's a gentrification story, and it's super neat the way that they came up with how to structure a park where people could be brought together. And it's a nice little piece.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a digital solution as well. We got to look at the library, and you can be kicked off Twitter because you can go somewhere else.
We'll make sure that gets added to the documentation.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. We're done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Have a good
Have a
night.
good night.